On December 7th, 2016, John Bois did something that is very rare in the modern NFL. He released a YouTube video that introduced a new concept that has entered the NFL lexicon, SCORIGAMI. Bois describes SCORIGAMI as the art of achieving a final score in an NFL game that has never happened before. For example, when the Seattle Seahawks defeated the Denver Broncos in Super Bowl 48 by a final score of 43-8, that was the first time any NFL game had ended with a score of 43-8. Thus, it became SCORIGAMI. On December 30th, 2021, NFL Films covered this concept in a video where they, rightfully, called John Bois the father of SCORIGAMI. SCORIGAMI even has its own Wikipedia page. Bois has provided mostly excellent content on the NFL and the sports world in general, so it's really awesome to see him get his deserved praise. What might the next SCORIGAMIs be? We're going to list 10 possibilities, not in any particular order, but somewhat grouped together in 5 different categories. And yeah, there's no real science to this. Thank you so much for joining us. We're ready to go. Our first category has 2 scores we're going to look at, and they come from adjusting existing scores. Let's take a score like 34-20, not an exceptionally common final score, but certainly not rare, with 52 NFL games finishing with that final score, including 4 times in 2023. Typically, a 34-20 score looks like this, but with some slight adjustments, we can find ourselves with a score of 32-19, which would be SCORIGAMI. Extra points aren't so automatic anymore. In fact, we once saw Brett Maher of the Dallas Cowboys miss 4 in a single playoff game. Now, while that's an outlier and shouldn't be expected to repeat often, we can imagine a scenario where some of these 7s turn into 6s, which would give us this final score. It doesn't even have to be 3 missed extra points. One of these 6s can be 2 3s instead. Another typical score would be something like 27-7, a score the NFL has seen a resounding 95 times, although strangely, only once from the 2018 season and onward. Another simple construction here, 3 7s and 2 3s against a single 7. But let's say a team takes a 24-0 lead before the other team finally scores a touchdown. Given the math of 3 8s equaling 24, a team will be compelled to go for 2. If they get that 2, then the leading team adds a field goal. Voila, we've got 27-8. Our next category will also have 2 entries, and we're looking at the idea of a general shootout. Let's take a look at a score like 36-23. Numbers like these offer various pathways to get to them, but we might imagine it looking something like this. The way this would shake out, the team that eventually loses the game would have 23 points, and the team that eventually wins the game would have 21. Should they score a touchdown, they would probably then go for 2, as the 2-point conversion chart suggests they do. That would then put them up by a score of 29-23. They add another touchdown, 36-23 is our final score. Another way we could do this is to look at a more traditional score like 34-23, which has happened 18 times, most recently 2 seasons ago, and just tack on a safety at the end for the final of 36-23. Now, how about a score of 40-31? 31 is far from an outlier NFL score, but 40 is way more common than many may imagine. It's been the winning score total 138 times in NFL history, and it's even been the losing total 7 times. Not surprisingly, all of those are one-hit wonder SCORIGAMIs. This particular pathway imagines a 41-31 score, but the 6 there would indicate a missed extra point, giving us 40-31. 41-31 has occurred 11 times in NFL history, also most recently in 2022. At the end of the day, a shootout can end up anywhere, and no one could have really seen a 39-37 type score like we got last season between the Texans and the Buccaneers, any more than I can postulate about these particular results, but they're fun to think about. Up next, we have a category unto itself with only one entry, and this would come from the random safety. Let's take an existing score like 21-3. I was actually pretty surprised to see that score has only happened 23 times in NFL history. Offense is certainly more prevalent in the modern NFL, but since that score was achieved twice in the 2000 wildcard round, it's only happened 3 times since. But the most recent time was, you guessed it, in 2022, this time between the Panthers and the Buccaneers. You just take a simple score like this and slap on a random safety, and bam, you've got SCORIGAMI at 21-5. Let's get a little deeper into this. Our next category would be the split, low scoring and high scoring tie. With the change in overtime rules, a tie game is a lot more likely now in the NFL. It's not just that both teams get the chance to possess the ball unless a touchdown is scored, it's also the shortened period, from 15 to 20 minutes. I don't have the numbers, and quite frankly, I didn't bother to look them up. But even if this hasn't proven to be the case so far, the conditions, just on the face of it, make it so. Now, we saw some NFL games last season that were very low scoring. The Chargers beat the Patriots 6-0, while the Vikings beat the Raiders 3-0. So while rare, these games do happen. So maybe a 9-9 tie isn't that far around the corner. This could either be a game that enters overtime tied at 9 with no one able to score, or it could be a game that enters overtime at 6-6, where each team kicks a field goal before time expires. Now we'll take a look at the kind of high-scoring game we've grown more accustomed to, and from this group, we've identified a 41-41 tie as the most likely. This would most likely consist of a game that goes to overtime tied at 38, where both teams boot field goals before time runs out. It could be a game that ends tied at 41 before scoreless overtime, but that seems unlikely, which is why 41-41 beat out 42-42 as our choice. Either one of these would be the highest scoring tie in the Super Bowl era, beating out the 37-37 tie between the Panthers and the Bengals from 2014. We're down to our final category, and this one's going to have 3 entries in it, which we've lovingly decided to refer to as the F it 2-point conversion. That is, a team is down by so many points that when they finally do score a touchdown, they go for 2. And in this scenario, they would get it. These 3 scores can kind of be seen as one collective. We've never seen a score of 42-8. We have seen 35-8 twice since 1994 when the 2-point conversion made its NFL debut. But we're looking here at the Chiefs beating the Ravens in 1999. The Ravens trailed 28-0 until late in the game when they got their touchdown and the 2 before Kansas City tacked one more on. So the leap from 35-8 to 42-8 isn't that much of a stretch. And in that same vein, we have 49-8, just another touchdown, and 52-8, which would just be another touchdown and a field goal. So here are our 10 choices for the next SCORIGAMI. Of course, there is no way to know any of this. Last season, there were 9 SCORIGAMIs in the NFL. They're listed here on the right side. If we or anyone else made this video before last season, it's highly doubtful, if not impossible, that anyone would have guessed 70-20. Yet that's what we got. Maybe some of these other games could have been a viable choice, perhaps 63-21 since that's all units of 7. Maybe 43-20, again, it's so hard to say. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you had a little bit of fun and got your wheels turning. Be sure to like the video, give it some shares, subscribe to the channel, and ding the bell for future notifications. Let me know what you think about all of this. Which one of my picks might be most likely? How about least likely? What other SCORIGAMIs do you think may occur in the near future? I've included a link in the description to this video that sends you to Pro Football Reference. They have a list of all missing scores and possible SCORIGAMIs left in the NFL. They have 1,403 such listings, going as high as 70-70, and as low as 2-2. There's never been an NFL game to end at 2-2. Maybe one day. Thank you so much for joining us today, and until next time, I hope you have an awesome day.